Finding the Nissan Pathfinder appealing is much like being good at roller skating and liking the band Nickelback. You got to be careful with who you tell. Average Joe and Jane cannot pop the hood on a turbocharged hybrid platform and work on that with any level of confidence. They can't take on new inventory because their lots, their primary lots, and their overflow lots are overflowing. That's probably the cheapest big body Bronco, quote unquote big body Bronco, that you can get. Not only are people unwilling to come out and get a huge auto loan on these new trucks here, they're just unwilling to suffer the depreciation hit that you're going to face. Here is the best deal on this lot here. But MSRP just over 65 grand, $10,000 off, bringing it down to $55,000, or they say or 0% over 36 months. And this I actually am pretty excited about because I do feel as though it is a nice forerunner replacement when it comes to just offering a better level of peace of mind. Coming from a Honda, a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 underneath the hood, many vehicle manufacturers do not have the luxury to hike up their vehicle prices any more than what they already had. They've already been priced to the moon. Then you get examples like this Chevy Silverado 2500 Z71, 133,000 miles, and they still want that much? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's a shame because the whole pre-tariff purchasing scare that dealerships are trying to pull right now, it's working. I hate that it's working. We knew it would. We knew that they would trick people who just are looking at the headlines or watching the nightly news. Hey YouTube, Untamed here. Banks are clamping down on auto loans, trade-in values are garbage right now, and dealers are deploying their last-ditch efforts in order to trick you, the consumer, to come buy a vehicle. I'm going to talk through that all in today's video, so stick with me. Across the board, vehicle manufacturers saw a roughly 13% uptick in their sales volume for new vehicles just in the month of March alone. That is largely thanks to the talk of tariffs. People, again, are just being afraid of missing out on a quote-unquote better deal while they still had the chance, when that couldn't be further from the truth. With the average cost of a new vehicle running you about $50,000 nowadays, it's really no surprise as to why people haven't been flocking out to buy a new vehicle. I mean, heck, even this mid-sized pickup truck here, this is a moderately trimmed Chevy Colorado, a 2024 unit. You're going to see a lot of that throughout the rest of the year, I would argue. But even this mid-sized pickup truck with a four-banger underneath the hood is just under 50 grand. Pretty insane, huh? And EV sales have plummeted over 70% since the beginning of 2023. People are not buying EVs like they were during the pandemic anyway. Here's an example of an Equinox, obviously an EV version of it. Let me remind you of how much these cost you, of just over $47,000 for this one. Fun fact for you, 40% of everybody with a EV loan out right now has a negative equity on it. They owe more than what their vehicle is currently worth. And if you're like me and you have a large family, we got 4 kiddos with a 5th one on the way, there are very, very few examples that actually fit and seat your family comfortably. This Chevy Suburban here, this RST example, is among one of those examples. 2024 unit, again, no surprise there, but still just under 80 grand for it. Since when do you have to spend 80 grand for a full-size SUV? Makes no sense. And if you were one of the lucky ones to have bought a new truck throughout the last year, you are spending over $1,000 per month. It's really no surprise when you look at the average sale price being $64,266 for a new vehicle purchase in 24. Just walking this lot, even the bare bones examples of the Silverados here cost an arm and a leg. I'll walk it through with you. This one here, $55,000. This one here, High Country, $71,000. Another bare bones example here, $54,000, $55,000, and if heaven forbid you want the big dog, the ZR2, 75 grand. Insane. So not only are people unwilling to come out and get a huge auto loan on these new trucks here, they're just unwilling to suffer the depreciation hit that you're going to face, especially with the Chevy, right? Chevy and GM products in general, they typically do pretty poorly when it comes to that residual value. You can expect to lose a lot more on average on a used Chevy truck comparatively to the competition, unfortunately. Then you have vehicle manufacturers like Nissan who are truly living on life support right now. The company at large is not doing well, and they haven't been, especially with their failed discussions with Honda recently. We have deals like this on this Nissan Sentra. Not sure if you can tell, but it was $26,000, and they're only giving you a $1,000 off discount. To be fair, vehicles like this do not have that large of a profit margin for the dealers themselves. Invoice on that probably is right around $23,000. And for that reason is why you often will see highly spec'd, highly trimmed examples on so many other dealership lots, because there is a much larger profit margin to be had on a higher spec vehicle. These base model examples, the lesser trimmed ones, well, the dealer's not making that much coin, which is why they don't prefer it as much. Finding the Nissan Pathfinder appealing is much like being good at roller skating and liking the band Nickelback. You got to be careful with who you tell. And well guys, although I might regret it, I actually do kind of like this platform here. This is a Nissan Pathfinder Rock Creek Edition. Hey, at least it's a 2025, not a 2024. It has that going for it. But even they want over 47 grand for it. You tell me, is it worth that price tag? And we talk about it plenty, but wholesale values are down tremendously right now, 18 to 20% less than what they were just a year ago. And consequently, that affects your trade-in. And while that's abundantly clear as I walk this lot here, there's really only a handful of used examples on this dealership lot. That's because people are not trading in their vehicles. They're not getting that great residual value. And when you combine that with the fact that many of these people who bought vehicles throughout the last few years overpaid for them, they likely have a large negative equity on it. So if they're not getting a great trade-in, they can't justify a new vehicle purchase. And I've said it once and I'll say it again, but I firmly believe that many vehicle manufacturers do not have the luxury to hike up their vehicle prices any more than what they already have. They've already been priced to the moon and people cannot afford them as is. Across the board, we saw roughly a 42% uptick in MSRP prices since 2019, and that has already left Americans feeling suffocated. Here we have a couple examples. This is a Nissan Kicks and several Nissan Versas here, but let me show you something real quick. Every single one of them has this same exact sticker on it. Final assembly point, Mexico. Engine origins, Mexico. Transmission, Mexico. So even the parts and components of vehicles are subject to the tariff. But Nissan does not get that option. They don't get the choice to hike up these prices any more than what they already have. This is $23,000. They're discounting it, still can't move it. 2024 units across the board. And Nissan dealerships across the United States have the very difficult task to sell these Nissan Zs. Not because they're not a cool vehicle, they are. I like it, and many people do, but when you get up close and you look at this price tag, it is extremely difficult to justify that. So these ones here, of course, 2024 unit, that one over there is 2024 as well. They've been here for several months unsold. And my local Nissan dealership only has 2 brand new Nissan Frontiers sitting on the lot here, 1 and 2, and for good reason, because these still offer a pretty decent bang for your value in today's market, I would argue, right? You still get a naturally aspirated V6 underneath the hood. They look good. They offer a level of peace of mind. A lot of people can pop the hood and actually work on it. $50,000 is nothing to scoff at, but generally speaking, you go to any Nissan dealership, they will be quick to discount it. They'll offer a large discount and an incentivized interest rate in order to move that metal. I would wager you can easily get this down to the low 40s. And well, for the same reason why we saw only 2 Nissan Frontiers over at Nissan, it's the same reason why we see only 2 Honda Ridgelines over here at the Honda dealership. These trucks here, quote unquote trucks, car trucks if you want to call it that, these at least offer a level of peace of mind. They too have that naturally aspirated V6 underneath the hood, and with all mid-size pickup trucks, well, and full-size for that matter, transitioning to smaller displacement turbocharged platforms, often hybridized platforms, people will miss. They long for this. They miss the simplicity of a naturally aspirated platform and the peace of mind that they generally offer, especially within a Honda. So, not surprised to only see 2 at this lot. And guys, I'm actually pretty excited to see this Honda Passport Trail Sport Elite example behind me. I've been following this vehicle for quite some time and just haven't seen one in the flesh yet. So here at my local dealership, they have one. And this I actually am pretty excited about because I do feel as though it is a nice forerunner replacement when it comes to just offering a better level of peace of mind coming from a Honda, a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated V6 underneath the hood, a 10-speed automatic transmission, a very simplistic utilitarian feel in and out. And I really just love that boxy design of this. I think it looks really good. Obviously the Forerunner, that body on frame design is a very different vehicle, I understand, but when they hiked up the price tag of the TRD Pro and Trail Hunter up to $67,000, $68,000, this one coming in at $54,000 begins to feel like a bargain. Although not too exciting, these Honda Accords and Honda Civics here, they're selling too. Only a handful at this lot, and really you go to any Honda dealership, there's really not too many sitting collecting dust because they are affordable, quote unquote affordable. People can make the monthly payments on a $30,000 or $28,000 car. Same goes for trucks. As long as it's $45,000 to $50,000 or less, and has a naturally aspirated platform underneath the hood, people are buying those with confidence. And maybe I beat this drum a little bit too much, but I do firmly believe that people are buying these particular vehicles because they want to get that longevity out of it. Not just so much the longevity of the engine and the platform itself, but having that peace of mind 5-10 years down the road that they can pop the hood of their vehicle and work on it with confidence. The average Joe and Jane cannot pop the hood on a turbocharged hybrid platform and work on that with any level of confidence. They're too complex, they're too complicated, and they're just too much for people to comprehend. Not to mention, the price tags on them are to the moon. So why not save some money and actually get a vehicle you can pop the hood and work on? And personally, I would hate to be a dealership trying to sell a whole lot of used inventory right now. Between the interest rates on used vehicles being extremely high, the national average being around 11%, and combining the fact with the lines upon lines of new inventory that is sitting unsold, collecting dust across the board right now, across the United States, it's extremely difficult to incentivize these enough to justify them, right? Unless they're slashing those prices hugely, which they're not across the board right now, they just can't move it. And you tell me, right next to it, we have a 2022 GMC Sierra. This one, they want $59,000 for it, and it already has dang near 85,000 miles on it. So you tell me though, would you rather get this and save $15,000 to $25,000 on it, 15 to 20, right? Or would you go buy a brand new one that has large discounts and incentivized interest rates on it? We're talking probably 1.9 or maybe a 3.9 at the highest. Would you rather do that? Because if you were to carry that loan to term over 72 months or even 60 months, this truck here is going to cost dang near what that new one does over there for $15,000 more. And if you're really having an identity crisis or a midlife crisis and you're a millionaire, you can come drop $150,000 plus on this Cadillac Escalade Luxury 2, for love of God. We've been at the point where so many dealerships have been turning away their vehicle deliveries and their vehicle allocations. They're turning away. They can't take on new inventory because their lots, their primary lots and their overflow lots are overflowing. And that doesn't put them in a good position when it comes to flooring costs. Those flooring costs are a monthly interest that they pay for every single vehicle. It differs vehicle to vehicle, depending on the cost and the loan amount, the interest rate that they have on that flooring plan. But generally speaking, if it's been sitting here for several months, just know that that dealership is really hurting. So, I mean, it really is a catch-22. You get so many dealers who become firm in their pricing because at that point they've already lost, quote unquote, so much on that vehicle by it sitting on their lot for over a year. Like I said, many examples are still 2024 carryover units, and we're going to continue to see that through the end of 2025 here. So a lot of them hold firm to those price tags to try to justify, to try to squeeze out any bit of money that they've already lost on that vehicle. Sure, they'll still profit on the vehicle, but instead of taking a loss early and cutting their losses, they're remaining greedy, they're remaining firm. As I look at each of these trucks here, many of them do have window placards where they're trying to advertise some sort of discount, but I would comfortably argue that these discounts are insufficient. We're talking maybe $5,000, $7,500 off, but when it comes to employee pricing, that brings it up just a little bit more, but still just know that that dealership is still making plenty on that vehicle. Between invoice, actual invoice, and employee pricing, still several $1,000s are to be made on every vehicle. And I'm always completely blown away by how much they want for these full-size heavy-duty pickup trucks here. Heaven forbid you have a business or a company that requires you to have a diesel pickup truck or a full-size heavy-duty like this. You're not going to be able to go out and buy. You got to already have a wildly successful company if you're going to buy this. Heaven forbid you're starting up. You're not going to get a new one because many of these here are between that $75,000 and $93,000 mark. Here is the best deal on this lot here. Here we have a GMC Sierra 1500 elevation trim. A lot of these on this lot, a lot of them on any GMC dealership lot, but MSRP just over $65,000, $10,000 off, bringing it down to $55,000, or they say or 0% over 36 months. I would argue if you're going to make a deal with this dealership, you could probably talk them into doing both of those. And here we have two Ford Raptors, of course the Ford F-150 Raptor here with the 37 performance package, MSRP right around $94,000 on that one. But here we have that new color for 2025 called Marsh Gray on the 2025 Ford Bronco Raptor here. Actually, it looks pretty neat, the color, but what is not neat about this is, hopefully you'll be able to see it, is that price tag. Look at that, over $95,000 for it. No thanks. But at least it's built in the United States, so it has that going for it. Only 16% of the components being built or outsourced to a cheaper labor country of Mexico. The only reason why we are seeing used vehicle inventory levels stay afloat within the United States right now is thanks to repossessions. And I hate to say it, we saw that 23% uptick in the number of repos that took place from 2023 to 2024, bringing it up from 1.5 million vehicles repossessed in 23 up to 1.85 million vehicles being repossessed in 24. So repos are the only thing keeping used vehicle inventory levels afloat. They're expecting us to carry over that status quo to 1.85 million here in 2025, or even see a little bit of an uptick to 2.1 million vehicles being repossessed. Kind of sad, huh? And a part of the equation really is that people feel as though the quality of these new vehicles has gone down tremendously, all while those price tags have shot to the moon. We talk about that plenty on the channel, but if you go look at Toyotas, right? Those previous generation Toyotas with the naturally aspirated engines in them, those are fetching huge residuals right now, all while the new examples with the turbocharged four bangers and the turbocharged V6s and hybrid V6s, those are coming with huge discounts and incentivized interest rates, and even then, they can't move that metal or move that plastic. Let me correct myself. These Super Duties here, many of them easily over 75 grand. This one here is a Tremor F350, and well, that price tag, look at that, dang near $100,000 for it. That is absolutely insane. People just want three things within their trucks. Those three things: reliability, simplicity, and affordability. What happened to that? I mean, the reality is that so many people just feel burned. They felt burned from all these dealerships that took advantage of them throughout the last 5 years. Many dealers were quick to charge you with a markup over MSRP, an addendum, or these bogus protection packages that totally inflated the price tag of the vehicle. And well, banks were equally to blame throughout the last few years because they too were offering these huge loans on vehicles that weren't truly worth it. The LTVs, or loan to values, being issued out by banking institutions was absurd. We're talking up to 150% LTV. As an example, if you were to buy a $100,000 pickup truck, that bank may loan up to $150,000 to account for additional markups, addendums, protection packages, tax, you name it. They looped it all into that huge inflated loan. So people, although they are equally to blame too, I understand, but they feel burned. They're not coming out, and they definitely do not have any equity in their vehicle right now, which is why you see no trade-ins. No trade-ins, but very high levels of auto loan delinquencies and very high levels of repos, unfortunately. And I've talked about it recently, but a lot of analysts believe that we will not see a huge increase of MSRPs. They're seeing maybe a 5 to 7% uptick in MSRPs, and it's largely thanks to what you see right here. Oftentimes, vehicle manufacturers don't outsource all of the production to cheaper labor countries. You know, Ford does it with the Ford Bronco Sport, the Ford Mustang Mach-E, but generally speaking, you see stuff like this, where just parts, pieces, and components are built out of cheaper labor countries. Like we see it with this F-150 here, the engine is built out of Mexico. I'll give credit where credit's due. Although Ford offers a bunch of hugely inflated price tag vehicles, at least the Ford Maverick is at a price point where people can still justify those monthly payments. I'm not totally applauding the manufacturer for doing that, but at least they have an option, right? The profit margin on these is not huge, but even they still have some parts of this vehicle being outsourced to Mexico here, right? So that's something that Ford will have to kind of go back to the drawing board and really determine, are they going to keep that in a cheaper labor country, or are they going to bring it back to the United States like the intent of those tariffs? But these Ford Mavericks, they are selling because those price points are between that 30 and 35 grand point. All right, guys, I walked all the F-150s on this lot and I found the most affordable one, and this is it. So this is a new one to this lot. It is a 2025 Ford F-150 XL, advertised with a 2.9% interest rate over 72 months, but even still, with a 2.7 liter V6 EcoBoost underneath the hood, they still went over 50 grand. What a shame. It's a shame because the whole pre-tariff purchasing scare that dealerships are trying to pull right now, it's working. I hate that it's working. We knew it would. We knew that they would trick people who just are looking at the headlines or watching the nightly news. They're going to run out and flock out and buy a vehicle before they had to pay that tariff price tag on one. So dealerships are truly loving this situation. They're licking their chops because of it. Just last month, like I mentioned, we did see a 13% uptick in number of sales volume across the US when it comes to new vehicle sales. So kind of sad that it's working. Do not fall victim to it. I do believe that this is going to be a very short-lived thing, and we're going to be back to square one, but even worse so for dealerships. They're going to have to offer even larger discounts to move this metal. This too shall pass, just like the overall buzz and excitement for the big body Broncos. Remember when they first came out, dealerships were licking their chops and taking advantage of you and I, the consumer, to try to milk you of a markup of some sort. And man, did they succeed. So many people paid $10,000, $15,000 or more over MSRP on these big body Broncos. Now look at them all. Many of them are just being advertised with a $6,000 to $8,000 off discount. discount right off the top. That's before you even negotiate a little bit with them. So don't fall victim to the hype. I mean, even America's iconic family hauler here with the Ford Explorer, these price tags have been shot to the moon too, right? Many of these here are well over $50,000. This one here, the only one that I actually kind of like the look of, is, of course, the most expensive one here. But look at this, over $61,000 for this 2025 Ford Explorer ST. And sorry, I do real quickly want to show you this. We have all these big body Broncos, and now back here, hiding behind this one is this wee little guy. Check this out. This is get a Marinka-Dink, very bare bones model here. 2-door, steely wheels. Does not get more sparse than this. But still, $41,000, 385 bucks. Is that worth it? You tell me. 2.3 liter EcoBoost inline 4. This is a cloth interior, everything as dialed back as you possibly can get it. That's probably the cheapest big body Bronco, quote unquote big body Bronco, that you can get. And just as a quick reminder, many of these Broncos here are well over $65,000. This one over $68,000, similar price tag there. The list goes on. And I showed you that new color for 2025, Marsh Gray over there in the Bronco Raptor. This one here is also new. It's called Desert Sand. This one, obviously with the steely wheels, is another example of a bare bones model. This one just with 4 doors. That price tag is just over 43 grand. And I recall on a number of occasions bumping into dealers trying to get $10,000, $15,000, or even more than that over MSRP on these GR Corollas here. This one here is a GR Corolla Premium trim, MSRP just under $44,000. These are coming with a $4,000 to $6,000 off discount right now. And we talk about it plenty, but the average sale price of a new vehicle in 2024 was $48,405. If you're going to spend that kind of money on a mid-sized pickup truck, you're likely going to find yourself in a mid-trimmed Toyota Tacoma, because many of these examples teeter right around that 50 grand price point. And just for context sake, just 10 years ago, the average new vehicle sale price was $33,500. Crazy how times have changed. And I gotta admit, I never thought I would see the day where we saw a Toyota Tacoma, not even a TRD Pro or Trail Hunter trim, go for dang near $60,000. So this one does have that hybridized 4-banger underneath the hood. This one, check it out, $58,000. Dang near 60 grand for this Toyota Tacoma Limited. Insane. And to add insult to injury, the average amount financed on a new vehicle just this last year was $41,500 about. Absolutely absurd. So people are not putting a whole lot of money down. If that average sale price was $48,400, what did they put down? 6-7 grand? Kind of sad. The car market at large is on a giant pendulum, and we're witnessing firsthand the opposite swinging direction of that pendulum. Last few years, dealerships had their way with you and I, the consumer. They don't get that luxury anymore. And really, that's why we see them trying to capitalize so much on this whole pre-tariff sales pitch, right? Don't fall victim to that. I do firmly believe it is going to be very short-lived, and we're going to find ourselves back to square one, right where we are right now, but even worse so. So I'll wrap up the video there, guys. As always, I sincerely appreciate you taking the time to tune in these videos. If you found any value in it whatsoever or appreciate this type of content, I do respectfully request that you please consider liking and subscribing. Your support means a lot, and it certainly doesn't go unnoticed. Until next time.